Thank you. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Žiga Bucaj. I'm a head of application development in Bank of Slovenia. I will share my screen because I have a presentation so that you will see it. Please tell me, do you see my screen?
Yes. We do.
Okay. Okay, so here we go. So today I'm going to talk about application development and APEX in Bank of Slovenia. But we will not start with the technical things. We will start with a short description of Bank of Slovenia. It is necessary for you to understand what kind of organization we are so that you will be able to understand later on when we talk about application development in Bank of Slovenia. Internally developed applications is one subject that we are going to go through. We're going to talk, of course, a lot about APEX, why APEX, APEX approach, what did we get with APEX, and what are our future challenges. There is a lot of echo. I'm hearing myself back. Maybe if your microphone would be put a bit quieter. Okay. Yeah, that is much better. Thank you. So let's start with a short description of Bank of Slovenia, just so that you will understand. Always when you talk about application development, nowadays we talk about whether we go outsourcing or insourcing. But the rule of the thumb is that you never outsource your core business. So what is core business of Bank of Slovenia? Well, first of all, Bank of Slovenia is a central bank. So it is not primarily a normal bank that would have clients as a usual bank does. It's a central bank. Every country has only one central bank, and it is this central bank has tasks that I'm mentioning below. One of the tasks is price stability. You can judge by yourself how we are doing this right now. Then we have banking supervision. We have payments infrastructure. And of course, we take care for the physical of the physical money. If there is too little of it, coins or banknotes, this is what a central bank would provide. Now, there are many more tasks that I could talk about, but the main point is that all these tasks that we do are unique. It's when you look at the normal company, they would always have other companies that do similar tasks, but the central bank is only one per country, and even the central banks among themselves are different. So, for example, our central bank has a banking supervision. That means that we have to control and supervise the other banks in Slovenia. But some central banks don't have this task. This is in certain countries, this is a task that is in hands of another organization. So it's hard to compare us with anybody on the market. That brings us to the question of insourcing and outsourcing. If we want to buy a product that would be developed for us, for our processes, it simply doesn't exist. And that is a reason that we have quite a strong internal application development. Application development in Bank of Slovenia could be described in a following way. We have SAP. SAP is, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the product. It's a product that supports the business of standard processes. Meaning, even though our company is a bit different than most of others, we still have some processes that are the same as everybody in any other company. Example is human resources. Like in any other company, people come, they are hired, they get a contract, they get a salary, they go to vacations, and in a certain point they leave. And this is a process that is more or less the same for every company that you can think of. And for these tasks, we have SAP. So this is a product we bought. Besides SAP, we use SharePoint. This is a Microsoft platform. It is main goal is to help with collaboration among co-workers. We also have some externally developed application. Either they are products that we bought because we didn't have a know-how to build them ourselves, or they are just the products that were developed externally because we didn't have internal resources to do it by ourselves. But the majority of things is the circle that I described here as Oracle. Oracle is, of course, a database, but behind the database, Oracle is, of course, producing a lot of different things, and later on, I will describe what we are using in Bank of Slovenia. So we have internally developed applications, but in order for you to understand, you have to know that we started internal development 25 years ago, or even sooner than that. And I will not go too much into history, but I will say that we brought Oracle 25 years ago. And once we have the database, we knew that we needed an user interface as well. And we started with Oracle Forms. Oracle Forms is here in the background. On the right side, this is a user interface, and well, it's old and it looks old. We started 20 some years ago and we still use it. It's a good platform. It works, it's stable, but on the other hand, you can feel that it is not new, it is not internet based. So if you want to have an application that would be accessible on via a normal browser everywhere in the world, this is not it. The users are satisfied with what we have. I mean, it works, it's stable. But on the other hand, when younger people get to work, they are used on the application that work on mobile phones. And these standards of how applications should look like are changing. They're always changing. But Oracle Forms, they stayed behind. So we knew already 10 years ago that we will have to change it. Roughly, I would say 7 years ago, we started to search for a product that we would be able to replace Oracle Forms. And of course, we asked Oracle what would be the right way to go. And Oracle said it's ADF. It's definitely ADF. This is the product that we're going to support. We're going to support it forever and so on. And well, we believed them, which didn't turn out so good, actually. Because, of course, at the time they said ADF is a low coding platform and so on. But as it turns out, at least from our point of view, it's not low coding. I mean, I guess you could say compared to what, but compared to Forms, ADF is very complex. It was very hard to learn. We did try to learn it. We put some, not everybody, but part of the team went to the learning course. We start using it. We made a couple of applications, and I have to say it is possible to build the application, but it is not fast. So it was time consuming, and it was certain challenges. We just couldn't go through them, even though we hired some external help. But even that turned out to be a challenge because there were not many companies or people that were familiar with ADF. So after a couple of years, we decided that this was not the right way to go. It's a very hard decision, believe me. It's you have to understand, we have over 100 internally developed applications in Oracle Forms, and we developed approximately 10 applications in ADF. And after a couple of years, there was a huge investment in know-how, investment in hardware, investment in software in terms of application servers and so on. And then you decide, well, we're not going to stick with it. But all the indicators were that ADF is just not developing. It's not the tool that has future. So at certain point, you have to decide and move forward. And again, we were looking around what to choose. And we chose APEX. How was that decision made? It's the things that we were looking into were how is APEX connected with Oracle? And the answer is it's closely integrated. This is not something that we need, but the fact is that when you produce APEX application, if you have Oracle database, it's a natural fit because it's stored in Oracle database and it works really smoothly with Oracle database. And since Oracle database is not something that we were planning to change, and still we are not planning to change it, then this is not a drawback. One thing that was really important for us was the reusability of PL/SQL procedures. So the thing is, you always have to have a database and you always have to have a user interface if you are building an application. The question is, where will be business logic? You can put it in the user interface, you can put it in the middle layer, or you can put it on a database. And while we were building forms applications, Oracle Forms applications, we had a rule standard that the business logic should be in PL/SQL on a database level. So once you start using APEX, this is again a natural fit. APEX is able to use these PL/SQL procedures. Not only able, it is very easy to use those PL/SQL procedures. So what you have to do is only make a new user interface, but the business logic could remain more or less the same. What we also heard is that APEX is easy to learn. I will tell you later how it went in our case. It is constantly upgraded. That is, we didn't consider this to be a huge importance for us. But on the other hand, when we required ADF or forms, they just didn't get upgraded. So there were no new features. And well, the world is changing, and more or less new features is something you will need in the future. And APEX is an environment that is changing constantly. That doesn't mean that the older things don't work. They take care of that, but there are new things always available. I know that one of the last upgrades was how to show things on the map. This is something that is not a business case in Bank of Slovenia yet. But you know, what is changing, and sooner or later this will come to agenda that this will have to be done as well. And since APEX is providing a lot of these neat features constantly, I'm sure we're going to use them. Then an important thing is local partners. This is a problem we had with ADF. There were just no local companies that were using ADF constantly. We did find a local partner, just one, with one person that knew ADF, but even this person was not using it anymore. But because he had a big know-how, we were able to use it. But this is not a good starting point. You know, this person could decide to change a profession, and then what? I mean, you can't really have the only partner that has one person to be your only support. I mean, I know we could search further, but we find that working with local partners is easier than going abroad. Sometimes we do that, of course, but still, when you need something fast, we are a public company that is, we have to follow public procurement, and that is always complicated when you go abroad. You have to the companies that would go to our tender would have to know our legislation and so on. So it's complicated. It's easier to work with local partners, but we are not limited to them, of course. And the last thing is APEX has a lot of online know-how. So with ADF, we had a problem that, you know, you had an issue and you try to solve it. And of course, what you do? Well, you go to Google, right? You ask Google and, you know, you find a solution. You didn't find a solution on Google. There were not a lot of resources about ADF. Well, APEX is different. There is a lot of know-how online, and that of course helps everybody, us and everybody else. So this was the reasons why we chose APEX. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me at any time so that we don't go back later on. So if I continue, how was our APEX approach? So because we got, I will say, get burned with ADF, we said, let's take it a little bit slower now. And we started with a pilot project. We hired external company to reproduce our application that was made in ADF. We said that they should do it, but they shouldn't do it to be exactly like in ADF. They should do it APEX-like, so that we know what we're going to get. And they were able to do it very fast, and the results were pleasing. Not exactly as ADF, and this is one thing that they explained, that, well, you know, it is going to be fast, but if you will want a pixel perfect application, for example, animation of some kind, well, there you're gonna run into problems. Not that it isn't possible, it will just take time. It is not gonna be fast. So this is a compromise we are willing to live with. So we went to the IT decision makers and convinced them that APEX is the right way to go. And once we got this approval, we wrote some standards so that when we start using it, APEX, we have a clear rules of how to use APEX standards. Of course, an important part of going to another technology is also to convince the developers that they want to use the new technology. Because if developers don't want to go there, then you have a problem in the start. Because they are the ones that will have to learn the new technology, they will have to embrace the new technology, and of course there will be challenges. This is normal. But if the start is bad, then it's hard to overcome these first obstacles that are sure to arrive. So the developers, you see, we have a rather old team. Most of our developers are over 50. So this is a challenge. But the developers were actually pretty happy to go forward because they were developing in Forms for the last 20 years. And, you know, Forms is really not the technology that you are bragging about to your colleagues over a beer after work. So it's APEX is something that they are looking forward, or I should say they were looking forward to. Then, of course, we started the education of the developers, and we made a migration plan. Everything that I explained on this slide has already been done, and now I'll explain how it went so that you will have a clear picture. So what did we get with APEX? We get responsive design. I'm not sure if you're familiar with responsive design, but this is something very normal nowadays on the internet applications. If you made an application, it will adjust by itself to the device that you're using. So the application would work on a big screen or on a mobile phone or anything in between. You see, Oracle Forms that we are still using are not responsive. So that means once you make a form, a user interface, is it exactly as you made it. And this is, of course, okay if everybody is using the same screen. But if everybody has a different resolution, a very big resolution, a very small, well, then you need a responsive design. And Apex, of course, offers responsive design. Also, ADF offered it, so it's not an advantage over ADF. Reusability of PL/SQL procedures is also a very neat feature. We knew that, but you have to try it. You have to do it by yourself so that you see if it really works the way you expect it. And well, check. It works perfectly. ADF also offered reusability of the PL/SQL procedures, but ADF was much more complex. Maybe if I go a little bit into detail here, like I said, you have a database layer and you have a user interface layer, but ADF demanded a mid layer. So when you tried to make a user interface to connect to a certain table in a database, you didn't do it directly. You needed a middle layer. And that is a cool feature if you have, for example, different kind of databases and your software is going to be deployed sometimes on Microsoft SQL, sometimes on Oracle, and then this middle layer really helps. But in our case, it was just an obstacle. We don't need any middle layer. We only use Oracle database. So what we need is we need a user interface that finds it easy to connect to database, and it's easy to use PL/SQL procedures. And Apex is exactly that. It's super simple to use PL/SQL procedure. This is very forms-like application. It is easier to learn than compared to ADF, but it by no means it's as easy as we expected. Like I said, our developers are a bit older, and they use Oracle Forms. And Oracle Forms are not Apex. There are differences, even though Oracle itself said, well, Apex is a perfect fit for Oracle Forms developers. Well, it is. If they know PL/SQL, it's great. But you also have to know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the things that, even though you don't have to be very good at it, you at least have to understand how it works in order to work in Apex. So we have some challenges here. The learning process is slower than we were hoping for it to be, but we are getting there. It's not that we don't know how to do things. It's just that to learn them, it takes longer than we were hoping to do. What we also get with Apex is functionality-packed apps. What I mean with that is, whereas you could develop whatever you want in ADF, you had to develop everything by yourself. You didn't get any cool features that would say, you know, you just drag this on the screen and it will produce this and that. Apex is different. Apex offers you a lot out of the box. I'm not sure if you see the print screen that I'm showing here, but there are a lot of things that that Apex is offering to a user, and they are there without any special effort on a development level. So you produce a table, and you, for example, put on the screen 10 columns because there is no more space for additional columns, but in the background you prepare additional 10 columns, and the user can by themselves change these columns, remove one column, add another column. They can filter rows, they have conditional formatting, they can calculate things, and all this is out of the box. So the developer just put the table on the screen, and everything else is offered. So the development is faster than in ADF, still slower than in Forms, but you get a lot more than you would be able to get in Forms. So we are still on a learning curve, but I can say that developing in Apex produces the applications that are better than the ones in Forms or in ADF, and you produce them faster than in ADF, maybe not as fast as in Forms, but if you limit yourself to the functionalities that the Apex is offering to you out of the box, then it's great. If you want something special, like I mentioned before, the user wants when you click a button to be a small animation of something that would fly to the right. Well, that is not something that APEX would offer out of the box. So in order to produce this, you will need a lot of time. But our applications are internal. We don't have to impress millions of users. Bank of Slovenia has a limited number of employees, and the focus is for the applications to be functional, not sexy, if you know what I mean. This is not something, but APEX has a lot of features that are really excellent and can impress users. But such add-ons as animations and so on, they can wait for somebody else to develop them, because we sure as hell ain't gonna do that. So if I try to make a conclusion here, it's APEX is something that we are still developing. We do have first application of APEX in production, but our transformation from forums or ADF to APEX is by far not completed yet. Just to give you an idea, we have over 100 internally developed applications. Let's say on average, every application has 20 forms. Of course, some forms are very simple, and these simple forms are very easy to transfer to APEX. Let's say a form that would show couple of basic data, nothing special on them, easy. You could do it on APEX or maybe even ADF, no problem. Now, but the challenge is that we still have to support the existing applications. Like I said, there are a lot of existing applications, and you can't just say, well, we're going to stop supporting. Yes, we will stop supporting once we develop a new application. But in the meantime, when the change request comes, for example, legislation changed or something like that, we have to change our internal application, and that is still in form. And everything that we are changing in forms means that we are not working in APEX. This is a challenge we have. We have a limited number of developers. There is no chance of extra employment. And of course, we have to take care of coexistence of forms, ADF, and APEX. So we have a lot of forms application. We have some ADF application and some APEX applications. And everything uses its resources. And when I say coexistence, it also means that sometimes you would like to transfer form by form, right? We have 10 forms in Oracle Forms. Now let's just change one into APEX. Well, it doesn't really work that way. You could do that, but the user experience would be really bad. So what we do is we transfer the whole application to APEX, not form by form. You could do it if you find some sensible consensus. For example, application has 2 modules and you transfer one module into APEX. Yeah, that would work. If these 2 modules are not interconnected heavily. But to do it forms by forms, one form by one form, it doesn't really work that way. So now I came to the end of my presentation. The main point is APEX is something that we are looking forward to. The users that are using APEX applications are satisfied with them. So we are still convinced that this is the right way to go, but we still have a long way to go in order to say, well, yeah, APEX, that's where we are. We are not there yet. Most of our applications are still in Oracle Forms, but we have a migration plan and we are starting. We already started to migrate, and like I said, the first feedbacks are good. So this is all from my side. Now, please, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask you a question about treating APEX as the enabler to open a new talent pool. So we, in this project, Better Employability with APEX, we are treating APEX as a tool to empower new groups of people who are going to be not maybe very sophisticated developers, but they are empowered enough to design technology with APEX. Do you agree with this statement that we can open new pools of talents using APEX?
So what you're, excuse me, are you from Poland?
May I skip this question?
Okay, so yeah, if I understand your question correctly, I think that APEX is the kind of technology that would enable that even the people that are not developers, you know, I would say hardcore developers, but to learn APEX and to develop in APEX, to produce simple forms. And these simple forms, as I mentioned before, would be really rich for users. So yes, I think this is one possible way to go. Yes.
And the second question is about this more experienced developers, your employees. What are in your opinion, the key challenges? Is it like the change management or fear of changes? What is the source of this kind of tension?
In our case, it's people would like to learn new technology, but in order to do that, they have to have time. So if I say, please learn APEX, and you start today, but tomorrow you receive a change request because legislation change and you have to change your existing application, well, okay, you only get one change request, but after 3 days you get another change request, and well, our priorities still are that existing applications have to work. Then it will be really challenging for you to learn something new if you're interrupted all of the time. But we are unable to make an environment when our people are not interrupted. So this is, if you would start from the scratch and you could afford that people would only do one thing, it would be great. But well, this is not how our world works. So we have to maintain some kind of balance. I try to, as much of a change request, to postpone them or to say we're not going to do that, not at this time. We will have to wait 3 months, half a year, but you can't always do that. The company as ours is responsible for many things that are really important, and certain things are operation critical. You can't wait 10 minutes, not 10 days. So for certain things, yes, we try to delay them in order for people to learn, but in certain cases you just can't do that. So this is for us the biggest challenge: how to enable for people to have enough of time to learn a new technology.
Any more question? I have one. I saw on your first slide that you're using technologies from different vendors: Oracle, SAP, Microsoft. I didn't saw IBM. I suppose you're also using.
No, not IBM. No.
Okay,
Well,
okay. And why this happened? Was this decision to make various vendors deliberate, or with intention to, let's say, lower the risk that some company will fail and bankrupt, or was that more decision of your bosses and CIOs that have different preferences according to the companies?
Okay. Well, of course, it would be ideally to be on one vendor because all the know-how could be concentrated on that. But on the other hand, there are risks, as you mentioned, that this vendor will, cease to exist or something like that, and then everything goes go down. But in our case, the reasons are a bit different. We still use mostly Oracle, but for certain tasks, we just didn't have the solutions. For example, if you wanted to make an internet application, Oracle didn't have a solution for us, and we didn't have the know-how for it to use something on internet. And in that cases, we use .NET. So it's and of course we have a knowledge of .NET. So it's important. You have to have internal knowledge for something. And again, you shouldn't bet all your money on one horse. I mean, it's risky. So it's all of those things. And SAP, well, that's a decision that you could argue it, but these are some standard processes. And if we wouldn't have SAP, then we would have another product that again would support these standard processes. And maybe it would be or wouldn't be Oracle. Hard to say, but you look at the market and you see what is there, and then you purchase. So that's it. We would like to be as uniform as possible from IT standpoint, but it's just isn't possible. It would be ideal, but very hard to achieve.
Okay. Any questions? Yep.
Hello, my name is Alkiviadis Tsimpiris, and we are from Greece, and we want to ask you a question about the applications that you develop with APEX, if they're free for the public, or it is only for the internal use of the bank.
Okay. Our applications are mostly internally used, but APEX enables you to, because Oracle Forms were the platform that you were not able to offer to the public, but APEX is. So once we're going to have a stable APEX environment, we are going to be able to offer some of our applications to the public as well. We already have certain applications, small applications for the public, but nowadays, like I mentioned, this is .NET. But once we're going to be fluent in APEX, there's going to be a decision whether we want to migrate for the same reasons that we discussed before to the APEX or not. It's going to be better because there are more developers in APEX, but it's going to be worse because then you only use one platform and there are risks. If something goes wrong, of course, everything goes wrong. So, but we are not there yet.
Hello, it's Weronika Szatkowska from Kozminski University, Poland. I would like to ask about cybersecurity, how it works and whether it is safe to use APEX, because I consider those data quite important and perhaps, vulnerable. Thank you.
Yes, of course, cybersecurity is something we constantly worry about. It is, however, a bit smaller concern if you're using an application internally. I'm not going to say it is not important, but you can imagine if only internal people can use application, then all of the 14-year hackers that are crawling the internet can't really access our applications. So, but still, before we started using APEX, we made security checks in order to ensure that everything works as it should. We constantly have educations on the security issues in order to prevent that something would go wrong. And we have external companies that do security checks on all the important applications, whether be it Forms, ADF, APEX, anything, because this is one of the bigger concerns that we have.
Thank you. My name is Anna Poliga, also Kozminski University. I'm curious, when do you plan to get rid of ADF? Because now you have 3 coexistent systems, and it seems a bit of mess. I wonder how do you manage that, and when do you plan to get rid of the other, which become, or whether they become superflows to APEX?
This is our priority. So the first things that go to APEX are ADF applications. We can't start with Oracle Forms because there are hundreds of them, but only 10 ADF applications. And we are already in process of reprogramming 9 of them. one is still waiting because it's the biggest one. But so this is our priority, to get rid of one-off platform because it's just too much, and infrastructure and everything gets complicated because of that. So for right now we do have, but this I think in a year, I hope in a year, we're gonna get rid of ADF.
Thank you very much. Actually, I have, well, yeah, there you go. Another question, because you seem to be pretty happy with APEX taking place of ADF and forms. However, I wonder, would you be willing to share some challenges that you went through that might be specific to your organization and could be interesting case study for us to listen to? I don't know if you have some, so don't make it up. If not, but I'm really curious. Thank you.
Like I mentioned before, the biggest challenge is how to make with existing pool of people, how to maintain existing application, make new ones, and learn a new technology at the same time. Because making new applications, well, not making new, changing, transferring old application to a new technology is a task that usually isn't as straightforward as it seems, because always when you start to rebuild application in a new technology, the user would say, oh, you're rebuilding. Oh, could you do this and that? And, you know, I would like actually some changes here as well. And then instead of having a 2 months project, you're doing it half a year. And if you do that with every application, and like I said, we have 100, it just, you know, it just isn't sensible. So this is a huge challenge. But of course, on the other hand, it is logical that if you are changing, that you take into consideration whatever the user needs to, not to remake an application that wasn't working well in the first place into a new technology just for the technology's sake. But like I said, this is a huge challenge, and we are thinking about the ways to overcome this challenge. You know, maybe outsource something, or maybe to hire additional people, not to employ them, but to be like outsource working force, to try to automatically transfer, because there are solutions on the market. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there are solutions that enables you to automatically transfer at least part of applications from forms to APEX, but nothing of such sort is cheap or, you know, easy to do. So it's then it's a challenge of budget, and not only budget, because you need people to do that. You need know how to do that, and you know. And again, this is just half automatic.
Right, thank you very much. No questions from Poland anymore.
There are three countries. We have 3 countries here: losers, Croatia, Greek, and yeah, so no more questions from Poland. Mr. Žiga Bucaj, thank you very much for your insights of the usage of the APEX. And I think it's so good to hear unbiased opinion about from the first hand. And thank you very much for your time and your experience that you share with us. Thank you again.
It was my pleasure.
Thank you.